Azumah Nelson and Hector Cortez collide in a critical 10-round featherweight fight. Hector Cortez is a cagey 33-year-old veteran who began his pro career back in 1974. In his most recent outing, the native of Ecuador fought WBA bantamweight champion Jeff Chandler on May 22nd of 1983. In a grueling 10-round non-title fight in the 122-pound super bantamweight class, Cortez showed surprising quickness and had a degree of success against the champion. But in the end, Jeff Chandler escaped with a unanimous decision. And tonight, he faces the WBC's second-ranked featherweight contender, Azumah Nelson. This 25-year-old was born in Ghana, and after turning pro in 1979, he won 13 straight fights before his title fight with the late Salvador Sanchez. He gave the legendary Mexican champion fits. By the end of the 14th round, these two 126-pound punching dynamos were engaged in a brutal war. They fought on after the bell sounded. But late in the 15th, the game challenger had little else to give. Sanchez dropped Azumah Nelson in the last title defense before his untimely death. It was Nelson's first defeat and a major disappointment. But just 3 months later, he was back in the ring. On October 31st of 1982, Azumah caught up with Irving Mitchell in the 5th round and delivered a crushing right hand. Moments later, when the powerful featherweight pounced on Mitchell for a second beating, the referee stepped in to stop the fight. On September 23rd of 1983, Nelson took on Alberto Collazo. Again, a relentless barrage by this little big man ended it in the second. And now Azumah Nelson tries to take one more step to a second shot at the title. So it is Azumah Nelson and Hector Cortez. Cortez, another one of those unknown quantities, really, and we're just not going to know what we have in Hector Cortez until the first round. As a matter of fact, the last time that we talked about Azumah Nelson, we did have him on the card in Cleveland with Jerry Coetzee. As you look at the record of Hector Cortez, 33 wins, 9 losses. He's had 3 draws. Not a particularly devastating puncher. He will wear you down. He's got 19 knockouts. Nelson was relatively unimpressive the last time we saw him, Ray.
Well, he's gained experience every time he steps into the ring, Barrett. And this is going to be a very interesting fight for him.
Here's his record, 18-1, and won with 14 knockouts, no draws. That loss, of course, to Salvador Sanchez, but he really extended Sanchez. He took him to 15 rounds.
Well, anyone who steps in the ring with Sanchez has to be good.
Azumah Nelson trying to become the 6th world champion out of Africa, going all the way back to battling Siki and most recently with Cornelius Boza Edwards. There is the tail of the tape, and Cortez, of course, 8 years older than Azumah Nelson and 3 inches taller than Azumah Nelson. He has a 3-inch reach advantage also. That is really a rather insignificant number at this weight. And now we take a look at the common opponents. Sanchez, of course, knocked both of these men out, and Ruiz was the other common opponent. He was commonly knocked out by both men. So little to choose in that respect. Nelson, of course, must be considered the favorite. Right now, let's go up to the ring announcer, Chuck Hull, for the pre-fight introductions.
Ladies and gentlemen, the officials assigned by the Nevada State Athletic Commission for the next bout of the evening. The judges are Jave Moretti, Dalby Shirley, and Hal Miller. The referee is Richard Steele. The next bout of the evening, ladies and gentlemen, 10 rounds of boxing in the featherweight division. Introducing in the blue corner, fighting out of Los Angeles, California, weighing 126.5 pounds. His professional record consists of 33 wins, 9 defeats, 3 draws with 20 KOs. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing Hector Cortez. And in the red corner, from Accra in Ghana, weighing in 127.5 pounds. His professional record consists of 18 wins, 1 defeat with 14 KOs. He is ranked number 2 in the world by the WBC, introducing Azumah Nelson.
So Nelson, at 25 years old, from Accra, Ghana. Hasn't been a champion from Ghana before. Most of the champions, as a matter of fact, are either from Uganda, oddly enough, or Nigeria. Dick Tiger, David Cote from Nigeria, Ayub Kalule, you know him, of course, and Cornelius Boza Edwards, both Ugandan, but oddly enough, again, Kalule living in Denmark and Edwards living in England.
remain there till I tell you to come out. Okay? Understand? Shake hands. Good luck to both of you.
Richard Steele, the referee, giving the instructions to both fighters. They've been in the ring for quite a while, and yet neither one of them is really warmed up here, Ray.
Well, that could make something happen in the very first round, because normally fighters don't warm up, and they come out very cold.
So it's Azumah Nelson looking for a title shot here. He would like to find the winner of the Gomez-Laporte fight. And I would say he's got a pretty good shot at it with a good showing here. So he has something to gain by winning this fight. And of course, Cortez, who is the decided underdog, definitely has something to gain by it. Cortez on the right of your screen, Nelson on the left, Nelson in the white trunks, Cortez the red.
Cortez for sure, because he has a very frail-looking body, a very angular, long, rangy body, and he must utilize his left jab and keep Nelson at bay. Nelson's a very aggressive and pretty good puncher, especially when he gets inside.
Nelson has really a very good fighter's body, good legs, good upper body, strong upper body. And Nelson shaking his arms, kind of trying to get the kinks out. Is the kind of fighter normally actually will pace himself, but is always looking for the knockout, and he'll throw his punches in flurries, try to put them together in one portion of a round, and he'll move that around. It'll sometimes be at the end of the round, sometimes in the middle of the round, in fact sometimes right at the bell. Generally speaking, he will start a little bit slowly.
Well, but against Salvador Sanchez, Nelson went right at him, very aggressive and constantly punched. He's very tenacious. I think as the years went by, the experience that he was able to gain, he's more cautious now. He takes his time and pretty much picks his shot, but he has a very awkward style.
Three-punch combination, all coming up short by Cortez. Cortez showing a healthy respect for Azumah Nelson here, staying very much at long range. Cortez counter punching to the body, did a pretty good job there.
It's pretty much a filling out process for both fighters, because you know that there is no perspiration on either fighter. They're a bit tight now, Barry.
That was not any kind of a punch that sent Cortez legs scattering.
Don't spin.
Cortez from Guayaquil, Ecuador, end of the first round, and it was a feeling out process.
Azumah Nelson.
I got
Considered by many to be about the third best featherweight in the world, behind Laporte and Pedroza, the two champions.
Trabájalo ahí, le entra el upper después. Pegando. Pero tiene que usar ese jab mucho. Y no se jale. Tírele para frente y para los lados. Tiene rapidez tú. Mucha rapidez.
Tocando, challenger, intelligent fighter, and in fact, he's had a couple of years college, now lives in Los Angeles.
So this the second round. First round, each man rather seeing what the other one had. Neither one really had too much in the first round. Cortez with the experience, Nelson with the reputation. That was a good left-hand counter punch by Nelson. Nelson has been here in the United States from Ghana for quite a while, actually, training, working here in the United States.
Okay, keep him up, keep him up.
Richard Steele telling both fighters to keep him up.
Nelson keeps his hand very high. The only mistake he makes, Barry, is when he's throwing his punches. He starts to telegraph. He puts his body behind, but you can see his punches coming a mile away. And for Cortez, all he needs to do is time his man. That left jab and come up with the right hand.
Let him go. Don't hit him.
Cortez very active. Left hand was a little short by Cortez, backed himself up.
Another mistake that Nelson makes is the fact he comes up on the ball of his left foot. You notice there, and he doesn't really have that much balance as he comes up. Cortez can make this fight pretty easy with the use of that left jab. He keep Nelson at bay and just lateral movement.
Cortez, as we mentioned, more experienced of the two. He's been in there against some pretty good boys. One of them, Orlando Navarrete, now considered the #1 super featherweight contender. And Cortez was on the long end of that one.
You see what happens with Nelson? He actually falls when he throws himself off balance when he throws his punches. What Cortez is doing, just pretty much being a counter puncher. And he's doing a pretty good job.
Nelson just kind of stalks his man, and Cortez being very active, cutting the ring off on him, not really giving him a chance to get untrapped here.
But Cortez is really throwing punches and really moving side to side. His only problem, he lacks power.
Spin him, Hector. Break, step back. Watch your head, watch your head.
Richard Steele telling Nelson to watch his head.
Nelson wants one shot.
And Cortez with a pretty good right hook that time. Didn't really hurt, but nonetheless it made Nelson aware of the fact that he was there.
Cortez definitely outmaneuvered Nelson in both of those rounds. And Nelson is wandering around in the ring up until now, a little frustrated with himself.
Sit down. I got it. Take a deep breath up.
Nelson is in that position where he has a lot more to lose than to win in a fight like this.
Esa le entra por el lado, ¿ok? Pero cuando tires el lado, tírale el upper, vente con la derecha y salte con el jab. Pero tienes que dar 3-4 golpes.
Cortez, I understand, had to lose a lot of weight in a hurry before he fought Chandler, the bantamweight champion, and he may be, although not as strong as Nelson, stronger and more comfortable at the featherweight limit than he was when he fought Chandler.
So this is the third round. So far, little to choose between these two featherweights, each looking for a title shot. Could be the last hurrah for Hector Cortez.
We have a replay of styles, the way that the strategy that Nelson is using against Cortez, trying to walk him down, knowing fully well he's not able to hurt him. But he could make a mistake because it's an accumulation of punches that normally takes its toll against fighters.
Nelson, as he did the last time we saw him, just kind of stalking his man and biding his time and not throwing a lot of punches. He almost waited too long the last time.
Great, step back, great.
Well, that could also cost him a fight because what's happening, Cortez is really he's scoring points because he's jabbing and he's hitting without getting hit. The only problem that Cortez can make is that he get into an exchange of punches with a puncher like Nelson.
Nelson with the 14 knockouts, so he can go get his man if he has to. Cortez kind kind of ducking in and out.
Don't hold him, don't hold him.
Not throwing punches in combination.
Break, step back, you're holding, step back.
You know, but it appears to me that Cortez, his company's adjusting because the string is dangling down. That could be presenting a few problems there.
That could be very distracting, I would think, to a fighter.
But he's still, I mean, he's able to. He's still moving around.
Cortez, the right hand counter punch off the right hand lead by Nelson.
It's just as frustrating for Nelson because he's being hit by the lighter puncher Cortez, and he's not able to retaliate after being hit. I think you may be able to see the tables turn if Nelson is able to hurt Cortez.
So far, neither man has been hurt. It's been a fast tempo fight here.
Let him go, let him go. Let him go, break.
Nelson very impassive in the ring. He shows virtually no emotion at all. All business. Missed that right hand. Cortez kind of a powder puff right hand.
Let him go, let him go, let him go. Break.
Cortez, Ray, really provides a tough target.
Because of his movement, yes.
Cortez is fighting practically a perfect fight. If at 33 years of age he can continue this for another 7 rounds, he can pull off a big upset. I don't think Nelson has hit him yet in that round. Let's listen to Nelson's corner. On the right.
He's gonna give you what?
Bill.
You didn't get none? You gotta get your hands off. You don't stand there and play games with this guy, okay? And you're waiting for him to get off. You get off first. Let's go. Operating behind the jail. Go, come on.
Nelson has been trying too much for one big shot to hurt his opponent and then try to swarm him. His corner is telling him, function behind the jab. Get down to basics.
So we're in the 4th round. And Nelson tried to pick up the pace a little bit here and get after his man a little bit. Nelson sticking his face out, saying, here I am, go ahead and hit me. Cortez isn't, but neither is Nelson.
We have more movement from Nelson, although I don't think he's really qualified to do that. He's so susceptible to being hit by a counter punch. But maybe he's okay because of the lack of punching power of Cortez.
Nelson missed 2 punches and Cortez scored with the right hand. So Nelson very active, but it's Cortez who's really doing the scoring here.
You see what's happening with Cortez's punches. The arm punches, and also he's pretty much, especially the right hand, with the inside of the glove.
And again, Cortez getting the better of that. There's a right hand by Nelson. That might have been the first punch of the fight that Nelson has really scored with.
I would really agree with what Nelson is doing now. He's picked the tempo, he's picked the pace up, and he's made a fight out of this. He's trying to make Cortez fight his fight.
That was a good right hand by Nelson. It caught Cortez. And Cortez is hurt.
He's blocking a lot of those punches, Barrett. Nelson is just so stiff. All his punches are stiff, except that right hand was a very good clean punch. But Nelson's punches are they're telegraphed so much, and they pretty much are punches.
Yeah, out of all that flurry of activity, there might have been one punch that really did any kind of damage, and that was the one that drove him into the corner in the first place. Nelson's being very wild.
If Cortez is going to remain in the corner, he should really cover up a little more. Or if not, just get out the corner and move around like he's doing now.
been hurt in this round.
Azumah Nelson's best round. Now we're in the locker room with Tim Witherspoon. Looks relaxed. We have to remember that although he doesn't have the experience that Page does, that he has been in a big heavyweight championship fight, and that could count for something. Tim Witherspoon. Azumah Nelson. What a great name. Azumah Nelson. Give me the water. Let's take a look at his best combination in the corner. Although he didn't get much of that stuff in clean, he was playing with a good craftsman. There's the right hand, but he rolled with the punch. Azumah Nelson is yet to really hurt his opponent, but you'll notice that he did his best work after his corner told him to go back to the fundamentals and start with the jab.
So we come to the 5th round. Really, it was the punch prior to the ones that we saw that put Nelson into the corner that really did the most damage. Or rather, put Cortez into the corner, I should say. Meanwhile, we're in the 5th round.
That's very good movement by Cortez. You know, every time he steps from side to side, he throws Nelson off. The problem is whether or not he can maintain this pace.
Don't push, don't push.
Nelson's not doing anything, but that jab of his is really just floating out there. He's actually pushing his jab.
Cortez caught a couple of shots, actually bouncing off the ropes. Now he's back in the corner again. And again, rolling with a lot of those punches.
You can see the experience of Cortez because he rides with a lot of the blows. He catches him on the shoulders. He pulls away. The experience really shows in Cortez.
Don't push, don't push.
He's going to the ropes with purpose. Watch by necessity.
Barry, watch the feet of Nelson as he gets his man against the ropes. He puts both of his feet together and starts to punch. He's capable of being knocked down or knocked off balance.
That was a good right hand, and that stung Cortez. No question about it. Cortez hurt now.
Work it, get out. Work it, get out.
And is still a little bit shaky.
Don't push, don't stay.
And again, a right hand. But this time Cortez gets out of there. And Cortez seems to be going to the ropes with cause here, Ray.
What's happened, the tempo of the fight has caused Cortez to start to fight Nelson's fight, which is not really in his best interest because punch for punch, Nelson is a stronger puncher. Another mistake, Barry, is the fact that Cortez is moving directly back. He's not giving a lateral movement. He's giving Nelson momentum now.
Took a left hand, although it was almost as much push as it was punch.
Come on, don't hold him. Punch it, get out. Punch. Break. Step back, step back.
Hector Cortez a little wearier after that punishment by Nelson. And there is Greg Page.
Was it a boot?
It's a boot. I think he's trying to drink some imaginary champagne. There's a right hand, which was Nelson's best punch and appeared to slow down Cortez. Let's take an overhead look at that. Imposing his youth and strength on the very, very crafty Ecuadorian at this point. Now Cortez does appear to be tired. The pace is very upbeat to keep going for a 33-year-old featherweight. 33 years old is about 2,000 years old in the smaller divisions. Very, very few fighters have excelled in the smaller divisions at this age because quickness is so important.
Now, even his handshake is not as upbeat as it was early on. Cortez, I think, very much a tired fighter, as Larry pointed out.
But what he can do, Barry, is use that experience that he has and stay on the move. Because if not, he's going to get into an exchange again and possibly get stunned once again by Nelson.
This is the 6th round.
Don't hold it. Punch it, get out.
10-round fight, and Cortez drawing a warning and apologizing.
You notice, excuse me, Barry, you notice the referee still constantly tells the guys to punch and get out. That means no holding. And what Cortez is doing, again, he's tying his man up.
That was a good shot by Nelson, and Cortez's legs really start to go.
That looping right hand of Nelson is starting to land.
Cortez was a punch away from going down. He's still a little bit wobbly here. Nelson misses a wild left.
Watch your heads, watch your head.
Well, Cortez's mouth is starting to open now to show sign of fatigue.
Another good straight right hand. Cortez very wobbly here. Doesn't look like it would take much.
You don't see too much strength in his legs, Cortez's legs now, which is another sign of fatigue.
Don't hold it, watch your hands, work to get out.
For a young, aggressive fighter like Nelson, they can sense, instinctively, they can sense when another fighter's tiring out. You see signs of desperation. And I think that's what Nelson is actually seeing in Cortez.
And another good chopping right hand, and down goes Cortez right on the seat of his pants. He says, no, it wasn't a knockdown, it was a push.
Let's go.
And so does Richard Steele. No knockdown. Nelson apologizes. A lot of good sportsmanship in this fight.
Well, one of the reasons why Cortez hit the canvas was because there's so much water.
There was another right hand snapped his head back. There was a low blow.
Nelson's really put a lot of power behind his punches.
Good uppercut and a right hand. Cortez about out on his feet. Nelson pounding him, trying to give him room to fall, but Cortez gets his legs back under him somehow into the round.
Good round. Very good round for Nelson.
Sí, como que no. Jimmy, hey, yo no voy a dar la pelea por ti.
Well, we want to remind you that on Friday, March the 30th, Championship Boxing returns to HBO. Marvelous Marvin Hagler, who incidentally is watching this fight from his training camp in Palm Springs, California, fights Juan Roldan. He's a very tough customer from Argentina. 10 o'clock Eastern Time. That's live only on HBO. And there's another observer watching ringside here who we will be watching on Friday, May 11th. The return of Sugar Ray Leonard. That's not Budweiser Sugar Ray Leonard, just Sugar Ray Leonard.
Thanks,
versus Kevin Howard. Friday, May 11th, 10 o'clock Eastern. That's live from Worcester, Massachusetts.
And that's Azumah Nelson from Las Vegas, Nevada, putting some real hurt on this ancient and noble veteran.
So they come out and touch gloves for the 7th round, and one has the feeling this could be the last round of this fight. Cortez tired, and I'm not too sure what he does still feel the effects of that rally at the end of the last round by Azumah Nelson.
Nelson is pretty much just walking Cortez down now. The 6th round was a very big round. And now I see that Nelson is really starting to gain momentum and a lot of confidence. If early he had a lot of frustration on his face because of the movement of Cortez, but now he's settled.
Seems to be almost a question of time here until Nelson can catch up with Cortez for a combination of punches. Seems apparent that one punch is not going to put Cortez down. Cortez back into the ropes, covering up, trying to fight out of there.
It's quite difficult to hit Cortez in the head because he's riding a lot of those punches. What Nelson needs to do is hit that body, slow his movement down.
Combination again by Nelson. Cortez sinks into the ropes. And another right hand. Cortez still back to the ropes. Uppercut and right hand behind it. Caught by the gloves of Cortez. There's a left hand up on the side of the head. Cortez is still here.
You see what's happening with Cortez. He's blocking a lot of those punches with his elbows. He's riding the right hand, catching on the shoulder. He's moving away. I think what he's trying to do really is trying to let Nelson out, punch himself out.
Nelson really is throwing wild arm punches right at the moment, too. Not very effective punches by Nelson.
Punching it out, punching it out.
The mistake that Cortez could be doing as far as thinking that Nelson's going to punch himself out is a mistake, because against Sanchez, it took Sanchez 15 rounds before he was able to put Nelson away.
I think Cortez really is almost more tired than hurt, really. There's a right hand, bounces him off the ropes again. Cortez down on the bottom strand of ropes.
All right, break, step back, step back.
I really do. I really believe Cortez is more tired than he is hurt.
I would agree, Barry. There is more signs of fatigue than it is as far as him being hurt.
There's a right hand. That was a pretty good punch by Nelson. And again, Cortez ducking down on the ropes.
Punch and get out, punch and get out. Don't hold him.
Cortez seems content to stay on the ropes here. Doesn't have anything left in his punches at all. But Nelson seems unable to put him away.
There he is, Louisville Fats. Greg Page. There's Azumah Nelson, who is now Azumah's command of this fight. An overhand shot of Nelson as he pounds away on Cortez. And there's the big right. It must be a wonderful feeling for Nelson to know that nothing his opponent can do can hurt him.
I'd like that. You really did say Azumah in control of the fight, didn't you?
I thought I heard that.
Who?
This is the 8th round, and Cortez may have a bonus clause in his contract here. Cortez's tactics may be to tire Nelson out, but if he does tire him out, what's he going to be able to do about it?
Well, I think, you know, in fighting the lower weight categories, and like a heavyweight, you must have a punch or speed and good legs.
Cortez, remember, 33 years old. He's been around a while. 45 fights as a professional and 130 fights as an amateur, which incidentally he only lost one of.
Cortez has gained a second win as far as his legs are concerned, but his hands, his punches, really this thing is totally gone out of him. He has to rely now on movement. Good right hand, but he has to rely more so on movement.
Cortez going side to side. When he does that, he's been effective. Very powder puff punches coming from Hector Cortez. Nelson, meanwhile, just kind of plodding along here, hands high, but unable to do anything about putting his man away.
Don't push. Don't push. Work to get out.
This is what Nelson wants to have Cortez, against the ropes in the corner, so he can wail away at him.
There was a right hand by Nelson, and it bounced Cortez back against the ropes. There's another one, and another one. And a left hand behind it. Cortez again sits down on the bottom strand, bounces back up again. It's like one of those pop-up dolls.
All right, hold, wait, step back. Don't spin him, Hector.
There's another right hand by Nelson. Cortez again breathing through his mouth, sign of a tired fighter, coming down toward the end of the round here. And Cortez caught another right hand right as we head toward the bell. Cortez, a very tired fighter.
Oh, break.
There's Tim Witherspoon again. Terrible Tim Witherspoon. Muhammad Ali gave him the name Terrible, meaning terrible as in tough. We'll find out if he's terrible as in tough or terrible as in terrible tonight. I knew another Philadelphia fighter who was called Terrible, and he was. And there's a bona fide heavyweight champion, WBA heavyweight champion, Jerry Coetzee, behind the man in the blue coat.
Get busy.
Azumah Nelson going about his work now in a workmanlike fashion.
As he has done for 8 rounds, and we now start the 9th round.
I noticed, Barry, at the start of each bell, they touch gloves. I do it once. That's when we signed the contract.
So friendship only goes so far. Cortez up on his bicycle again here. It seems to have his legs under him, at least for the moment. He definitely did not at the end of the 8th round. I've always found a good stiff right hand in the face has a tendency to take your legs away.
Well, the jab thrown by Cortez, it's really bothering Nelson because it's keeping him off balance. But what happens, his lack of power, Nelson just walks completely through Cortez. And he loads up with the overhand rights and the wide left hooks.
Watch your head.
And again, Richard Steele saying, watch your head. Azumah Nelson and Hector Cortez touch gloves. There's a left hand actually on top of the head that sent Cortez back to the ropes.
Nelson now is going to the body, throwing jabs and right hands to the body. He should have been doing this earlier. He could have slowed his man down a lot sooner.
There's a right hand, long right hand. But you're right, Ray, that Nelson doesn't really seem to always be on balance when he throws his punches.
Well, he's so stiff and he's so tight. And his style doesn't permit him to really be relaxed. He's so tight.
Again, a reaching right hand almost.
But physically, I think you have to be really impressed with his strength.
Yeah, he has a very classic style, really. Straight up and down kind of fighter, keeps his gloves high.
Punch and get out. Punch and get out.
Again, that pawing right hand. It does score points for him, but it's not really a devastating kind of punch. You have the feeling that Cortez should have been out of here a while ago.
Well, you notice when Cortez doesn't throw his jab or throws a punch, that Nelson just rips right through him.
Coming down toward the 22nd mark remaining here in the 9th round.
Break, step back.
Cortez continues to be a tired fighter. There is a little blood from the right eye now of Hector Cortez.
the backhand. Punch it, get out. Great. Step back. Step back. Step back.
You gotta let your hands move. You gotta let your hands move all the time. They cannot stand out.
This the 10th round. You champ.
Out of there.
Fight like a champ.
Out of there.
Come on, fight like a champ. Take him out of here.
Squeeze on the back of my hand, Bill.
In an earlier fight tonight, Carlos De Leon, the WBC Cruiserweight champion, won a unanimous decision over Anthony Davis, who had been ranked second. A long, tough fight for De Leon over an outclassed opponent. And there in the middle, Muhammad Ali. Incidentally, Muhammad Ali weighed in today at 223 pounds, I'm told. About 17 pounds less than Greg Page.
Meanwhile, we have a couple of 126-pounders in there. Hector Cortez and Azumah Nelson, and you heard Nelson's corner say, take this guy out of there.
And Larry Holmes just entered the ring, so we have here Jerry Coetzee, Larry Holmes, two heavyweight champions, Muhammad Ali.
Full of heavyweight champions. We got pretenders, we got champions, we got former champions.
Well, Nelson's trying to be a champion out here. He's going all out against Cortez.
Nelson trying to do what his corner said, but so far unable to do it.
His problem, Barry, is the fact he's trying to load up.
He missed about 6 punches in a row there.
And he would never be able to land one big punch. He has to take his time, lead up with the jab. And he's making a mistake of just running in with his head.
Still blood from the right eye of Hector Cortez.
Watch your head.
It's alongside the eye and below the eye. At this late date, it won't have an appreciable effect.
If one of those right hands really, if one of those right hands land against Cortez really clean, Cortez could go down because his legs are, they look as though he's shot now.
His legs have been rather like that for about the last 4 or 5 rounds, 6 rounds maybe.
Working it out. All right, break. Step back. Step back. Step back, Zuma.
The way his legs are right at the moment, he could walk down a bowling alley and they wouldn't have to stop the game.
Just like my legs, huh?
That's right. Watch your head. Come on, don't hold. Break. Step back. Don't hold.
There's a good combination by Nelson, and that forces Cortez to hang on here.
Step back, you hold him. Come on, Hector.
That's not right hand.
And once again, Nelson right on top of his man, tries to step away and let Cortez fall, but Cortez holds on.
He's ready to go, Barry. One more right hand like that. Cortez might hit the canvas.
Got about 40 seconds still to go. And Cortez is in deep trouble here. Richard Steele takes a good long look inside of 30. Cortez just trying to weather it, get out of it, and listen to the decision if he can hear it.
Come on.
Cortez just trying to hold on. Richard Steele saying he can't do that. Five seconds remaining. This one just about over, and Cortez will finish it on his feet. There's the bell.
Hector Cortez is a very skilled veteran, a very difficult opponent to look good against. But having said that, I have to say that Azumah Nelson, for all the hard work he put into this, still wasn't all that impressive.
Frankly, I've yet to see him really be impressive. Probably the most impressive he was when he fought for the championship and lost to Salvador Sanchez. So we will await the official decision here, Ray, but I think it's fair criticism to say it was not a very overwhelming victory by any stretch of the imagination, at least from an impressive point of view for Azumah Nelson?
Well, Barry, styles make fights, and the style that Cortez possesses gave Nelson a lot of problems with his movement and his craftiness against the ropes.
Nelson, of course, looking for a title shot against the winner of the Gomez-Laporte fight. And he would be in some pretty high cotton if he got in there against either one of those guys.
Oh, it'd be tough.
Because it was obvious right from the outset that Hector Cortez was not about to hurt Azumah Nelson, and of course that allows you to take a lot more chances.
Well, I tell you one thing about Cortez, the fact that he takes advantage of his movement and his experience, but he lacks so much power, and that's why Nelson just walked through him.
Azumah Nelson throwing a lot of wild punches, really rather wasting the punches. And right now, let's go up to the ring announcer, Chuck Hull. We'll get the official decision.
Ladies and gentlemen, here is the decision of the judges. Judge Dave Moretti scores 97-93. Judge Dalby Shirley scores 97-93. And Judge Hal Miller scores 98-92 for the winner by unanimous decision, Azumah Nelson.
There is a look at Larry Holmes. He, of course, perhaps the public's champion, even though he has stepped aside. And Greg Page and Tim Witherspoon will be fighting for his championship. We talk about the fact there are champions everywhere here tonight. Man on my right, of course, no small example. Sugar Ray Leonard is here. Muhammad Ali is here. Larry Holmes is here. Jerry Coetzee, the WBA champion, is here. There is talk, of course, of a Larry Holmes-Jerry Coetzee fight upcoming.